Tonight, allow the world around you to become a little more distant. Let the noise of the day settle somewhere behind you, as if it were slowly fading beyond a closed door. There is nothing urgent here, nothing sharp, nothing that asks you to hurry. For the next few moments, we are going to move gently into the past, to a land of warm stone, dark water, pale sand, low lamps, and open skies. We are going to ancient Egypt, not as a place of battles or spectacle, but as a calm and living world seen in the softer hours, when the sun has disappeared and the valley begins to breathe in the coolness of night. Tonight, allow the world around you to become a little more distant. Let the noise of the day settle somewhere behind you, as if it were slowly fading beyond a closed door. There is nothing urgent here, nothing sharp, nothing that asks you to hurry. For the next few moments, we are going to move gently into the past, to a land of warm stone, dark water, pale sand, low lamps, and open skies. We are going to ancient Egypt, not as a place of battles or spectacle, but as a calm and living world seen in the softer hours, when the sun has disappeared and the valley begins to breathe in the coolness of night. Imagine yourself standing near the Nile after sunset. The day's heat still lingers in the mud brick walls of nearby houses, but the air has begun to change. The river moves with a slow and steady patience, carrying the last reflections of the evening sky. Along the bank, papyrus reeds bend slightly in the breeze. Palm trees stand in dark outlines against the deepening blue above. Far away, a few lamps glow inside simple homes, their flames small and golden, protected from the wind. The sounds are gentle, water touching the shore, insects in the reeds, a rope creaking faintly where a wooden boat is tied to a post. The Nile was the center of Egyptian life. It gave water to the fields, carried boats between towns and temples, and shaped the rhythm of the year. Beyond its green banks, the desert stretched wide and dry, but beside the river, life gathered in long, fertile ribbons of land. Each year, in ancient times, the floodwaters rose and spread rich, dark soil across the fields. When the water withdrew, farmers planted grain, vegetables, flax, and fruit trees. The people watched these cycles closely because the river was not only a road and a source of water. It was the quiet pulse of the country itself. By day, the river might have been busy with fishermen, traders, officials, farmers, and travelers. Boats moved north and south, carrying grain, stone, offerings, animals, letters, and people. But now, under the night sky, everything feels slower. The work has ended. Voices are lower. The village paths are dim. Someone places a jar near a doorway. Someone folds linen. Someone checks the embers of a small fire. A child, tired from the day, rests near the doorway of a house while the adults speak in low tones. The world becomes smaller, warmer, and more intimate. Most people in ancient Egypt did not live among golden treasures or inside great palaces. They lived in towns and villages, close to the land, the water, and the seasons. Their houses were often made of mud brick, shaped from the soil of the Nile and dried beneath the sun. The rooms were simple and practical, with woven mats, low stools, storage jars, baskets, and places for sleeping. In the evening, a home might smell of bread, oil, dust, and river air. Bread and beer formed the foundation of everyday meals for many Egyptians, along with onions, garlic, lentils, beans, fish, dates, figs, and other foods gathered from the land and water. In one house, a family settles in for the night. The day has been full of ordinary tasks. Grain has been ground, water has been carried, animals have been tended, tools have been repaired, food has been prepared. The smallest details of life, repeated again and again, made up the world that supported temples, kings, monuments, and memory. Not every story of ancient Egypt belongs to a pharaoh. Some belong to a potter shaping clay, a weaver working with linen, a carpenter smoothing wood, a farmer studying the fields, or a mother calming a tired child in the warm half-darkness of a courtyard. Nearby, perhaps, a scribe sits beside a low lamp. His reed pen rests between his fingers. He writes carefully on papyrus, recording grain, goods, names, or messages for an estate or temple. Writing had great power in Egypt. It preserved commands, prayers, stories, accounts, and sacred words. Hieroglyphs could cover temple walls and tombs in carefully ordered signs, while other scripts served the practical needs of administration. To write was to make something last: a name, an offering, a prayer, a royal order, a memory. In the stillness of night, the scribe's work seems almost meditative. Ink, lamp, papyrus, silence. The Egyptians lived in a world where practical life and sacred meaning were closely connected. The field, the river, the house, the temple, the tomb, the sky, all belonged to one larger order. The idea of Ma'at, often understood as truth, balance, justice, and harmony, helped express this order. The world needed to be cared for. The gods needed offerings. The dead needed remembrance. The fields needed water. The home needed attention. The sun needed to return. And in the Egyptian imagination, the return of light each morning was not a small thing. It was part of the great pattern of existence. Far from the villages and cultivated land, where the green valley gives way to desert, the pyramids stand beneath the moon. They are familiar to us now, but in the deep quiet of night, they become something simpler and more powerful than an image from a book. They are vast shapes resting against the sky. Their sides rise from the plateau, like mountains formed by human intention. The Great Pyramid, associated with Pharaoh Khufu, and the nearby pyramids of Khafre and Menkaure belong to the Old Kingdom, more than 4,000 years in the past. Around them are smaller pyramids, tombs, temples, causeways, and the silent presence of the Great Sphinx. By daylight, the pyramids would have caught the sun. In ancient times, some of their outer casing stones were smooth and pale, and they may have shone brightly against the desert. But under the moon, they feel different. Their edges soften, their surfaces darken. The wind moves over the sand, and the whole plateau seems to rest between earth and sky. These monuments were royal tombs, but they were also connected with ideas of eternity, rebirth, and the heavens. Their form may have suggested the first mound of creation, rising from the waters of the beginning. They pointed upward, toward the sky, toward permanence, toward a hope that life could continue in another form. It took extraordinary organization to build them. Stone had to be quarried, transported, shaped, and set into place. Workers needed food, tools, shelter, leadership, and planning. But tonight, we do not imagine the noise of construction. We see the pyramids after the work is finished, after the tools have fallen silent, after the heat of the day has gone. The processions have ended. The offerings have been placed. The pathways are empty. Only the desert wind remains, passing over stone and sand. Around the pyramids, tomb walls were often decorated with scenes of life. Farming, fishing, boats, music, animals, food, and offerings. These scenes were more than decoration. They helped create a continuing world for the deceased. The Egyptians prepared carefully for the afterlife, not simply because they were focused on death, but because they imagined death as a passage, a transformation, a crossing into another state of being. Food, images, names, prayers, and rituals all supported this hope. To preserve a person's name was especially important. A name spoken or written could carry memory across time. The Great Sphinx lies nearby, carved from limestone, with the body of a lion and a human head. It faces east toward the rising sun. At night, it too becomes still and watchful. Sand gathers in the hollows, moonlight touches the ancient stone. Its face looks beyond a single lifetime, beyond a single kingdom, beyond the many centuries that have passed since it was carved. It has seen languages change, empires rise, travelers arrive, scholars measure, artists draw, and generations wonder. But in the quiet of our imagined night, it simply remains. From the desert edge, let us drift southward along the Nile, toward the great temple landscapes of Egypt. Temples stood throughout the land. Some were small and local. Others grew across generations into vast complexes of gates, courts, columns, obelisks, sanctuaries, storerooms, workshops, and sacred lakes. At Karnak, near ancient Thebes, the temple complex became one of the great religious centers of the ancient world. At Luxor, Philae, Edfu, Kamambo, and other places, Stone walls and carved images held stories of gods, kings, offerings, festivals, and cosmic order. A temple was not just a meeting place. It was understood as a house of the god. Deep inside, in the most sacred chamber, the divine image was kept. Every day, rituals were performed with care. Priests purified themselves, opened doors, lit lamps, offered food and drink, dressed and anointed the sacred image, and recited prayers and hymns. These actions helped maintain the balance of the world. They were part of the daily care of existence itself. Now, imagine entering a temple after sunset. The massive gateways stand dim beneath the stars. The stone still holds a trace of warmth from the day. Tall columns rise like a forest, their capitals shaped like papyrus or lotus plants. The walls are carved with pharaohs presenting offerings to gods. In daylight, these images might once have been painted in bright colors, but in the low glow of a lamp, only their forms appear. Hands extended, crowns raised, flowers bread, incense, water, and sacred signs. The air carries a faint scent of dust, stone, oil, and old smoke. Inside the temple, the movement from open court to shadowed hall feels almost like the movement into sleep. First, there is the wider world, with its sky and space. Then a passage, then columns, then darker chambers, then the innermost room, where sound seems to disappear. Egyptian temples often guided the mind inward, from brightness toward mystery, from ordinary space towards sacred stillness. In the late hours, when no festival fills the courts and no crowd stands outside the gates, the temple belongs to silence. The gods of Egypt were many, and their meanings could overlap and change through time. Ra was linked with the sun, Osiris with renewal and the afterlife, Isis with protection and magic, Horus with kingship, Hathor with music, joy, and the sky. Ammonius became especially important at Thebes, later joined with Ra as Ammonius Ra. Thoth was associated with writing, wisdom, and measurement. This divine world was complex, but we can hold it gently tonight. For the Egyptians, sacred presence could be found in the sun, the river, animals, stars, fertility, kingship, memory, and the turning of time. The pharaoh stood at the center of earthly order. He was ruler, builder, sacred figure, and mediator between the people and the gods. Across Egyptian history, many pharaohs ruled. Some are famous today, such as Khufu, Hatshepsut, Akhenaten, Tutankhamun, Ramses II, and Cleopatra VII. Others are known only through inscriptions, fragments, king lists, or the remains of monuments. Some ruled for decades, others briefly. Some left great temples behind, while others left only traces. But tonight, we do not think of pharaohs through power or drama. We think of the human longing beneath the crowns and titles, the wish to be remembered, to be protected, to cross safely into the unknown, and to wake again in a place of light. Egyptian ideas of the afterlife were rich and layered. The body was preserved with care. Tombs were prepared. Texts were written. Offerings were made. Amulets were placed for protection. The journey beyond death was imagined with gates, fields, waterways, divine beings, and transformations. Yet at its heart was a simple hope that life did not end completely, but continued in another form. In a quiet tomb chapel, painted walls might show gardens, boats, birds, fields, musicians, servants, cattle, and tables full of food. These images created an ideal world that could continue forever. Bread remains, water remains, a name remains, a field remains. A person sits before an offering table, calm and composed, receiving what is needed for the life beyond. The afterlife could resemble a perfected Egypt, fertile, ordered, abundant, and peaceful. The west, where the sun set, became associated with the dead, while the east promised return. Each evening, the sun disappeared. Each morning, it rose again. Beyond the river, beyond the temples, beyond the tombs, the desert opens wide beneath the night. Ancient Egyptians lived close to a powerful contrast. The black land, the fertile soil of the Nile Valley, and the red land, the dry desert beyond. One was field and water. The other was horizon, stone, heat, silence, and distance. At night, the desert becomes cool. The rocks turn pale under the moon. The wind lifts grains of sand and sets them down again. Footprints soften. Far sounds disappear. The sky seems enormous. Imagine lying near the edge of the desert, wrapped in light linen, with the Nile Valley somewhere behind you. The village is no longer clear. Perhaps you hear only a faint voice, a dog in the distance, or the movement of water carried by the night air. Above you, the stars are bright and countless. The Egyptians watched the heavens carefully. The movement of the sun, moon, planets, and stars helped mark time and express the order of the universe. The sky goddess, Nut, was imagined arching over the world, her body filled with stars. Each evening, she swallowed the sun. Each morning, she gave birth to it again. Under such a sky, the desert is not empty. It is spacious. It gives the mind room to loosen. The eye rests on simple forms: dune, rock, horizon, shadow, star. Nothing demands too much attention. Everything feels older than thought. Caravans once crossed desert routes. Expeditions went out in search of stone, copper, gold, and precious materials. Workers left inscriptions on rocks. Travelers followed wells and known paths. But tonight, no caravan passes. No tools strike stone. No voices rise from the road. Only the wind moves softly across the ground. Ancient Egypt can sometimes seem crowded with names, dates, gods, kings, monuments, and dynasties. But beneath all of that was a landscape of deep simplicity: river, field, desert, sun, and star. The Nile gave life. The desert gave space. The sky gave rhythm. Between them, human beings built homes, temples, tombs, stories, songs, and hopes that reached toward eternity. And now, our journey can become still. The Nile continues to flow in the darkness. The lamps in the village grow dim. The temple doors are closed. The pyramids stand beneath the moon. The Sphinx faces the unseen east. The desert wind passes over the sand. The stars remain high above the valley. There is no need to travel farther tonight. Let the images fade slowly. The river becomes a dark ribbon under the sky. The reeds become shadows. The houses grow quiet. The columns disappear into soft darkness. The pyramids become simple shapes on the horizon. The sand stretches far away in every direction. Let your body become heavy. Let your thoughts become lighter. There is nothing more to solve, nothing more to hold, nothing more to follow closely. The old river is moving. The night is calm. The desert is cool. And somewhere beyond the horizon, morning will come in its own time. For now, only rest, only quiet, only sleep.